You can view the video of this podcast on Jazz Cabbage's YouTube or Facebook pages.
I want to put a couple other things up here while I'm here. I always want to recognize these good people because I work directly with them, and I'm very happy about that. And not only is that store opening in Kalkaska soon, but that will be soon followed by one of the first social lounges, Kalkushka. I'm looking forward to that too.
Jamie,
Very
remember there are
exciting.
people watching this video or listening to this video that don't have the ability to watch. So that was an advertisement for the botanical company.
It was.
It was.
If you're not watching it, go someplace where you can watch it so you can see it.
Yeah.
So we don't have to describe anything anymore. But Rick Thompson just joined us.
Or if you're in the area, visit the place.
Just visit the store. Look at the sign.
Just go to the store and
Lansing and East Tawas, and then
East Tawas.
Go to Kalkaska and hang out and wait for the store to open.
Just wait. Are they building? Will you be waiting on like an empty lot or watching them redo
A place
a
to
building?
park, but won't quite be open for a few weeks. It is getting much closer though. It just needs
Okay,
finishing
so get in
touches.
line early so you'll be the first one in.
Yep.
Pitch a tent like they used to do for Cabbage Patch dolls, and you'll be all set.
Start now.
That's right.
So I wanted to bring up something. It's not really news out in the real world. I think all of us might be aware of it because of our various lists and the fact that we're very heavily involved in what's going on with issues concerning cannabis and other things. And we get concerned sometimes with how things play out. And we don't know everything, but I want to explain what we do know, at least from my perspective. Rick will confirm, deny things, shape it up a little bit, but and then we'll see if it sounds like it's something that is nefarious to a degree, or that we might have to have some concern about. But I think a lot of people know, and Colin's coming on here in a second, that part of the initial funds that are raised by the excise tax under the MRTMA have been designated to go toward research for veterans for PTSD and suicide prevention, and it was kind of unofficially earmarked by description for some of the studies already going on with people we were familiar with and like their work, Dr. Sue Sicily, for example. And then that is to happen first, according to the language in the law, and possibly for up to 2 years. And then the distribution from the funds would go to the other designations, which would be roads, schools, and then back to the communities that opted in and per unit of retail store or micro business. Just a few days ago, maybe a week ago or something like that, the reporting and the media started coming out about how the first shares were being distributed. And if city of Ypsilanti got like $140,000, which is cool. It just got started there. There's only like 19,000 people. I checked that one out just out of interest, and a few of them, and that's cool. But we did not hear anything about this Veterans Fund. Some people apparently had some conversations with some people in the state, and some issues were raised about whether or not there was a mechanism to do it, to go discuss it with a different state department, and these things that didn't sound very good or conclusive. And then one of our own, Chuck Reen, wrote the State Department, the MRA directly, got a response that said, yeah, we've appropriated the funds and we're going to start having people give applications soon. So that's my understanding of what the deal is. And I think it does sound kind of weird. Rick, do you want to fill in or shape that up, and then maybe see if other people think that what we have here is a cause for concern or some type of nefarious move?
Well, first of all, I want to point out all the smoke in my screen right now is real. There's no added effects. It's all RT smoky.
What are you saying, that we have fog machines or something?
No, I'm just taking credit for what I've done. The second thing I'd like.
We're not getting down to business here. I'll just throw in, because I forgot that we are going to have a great show today, and we're going to be joined by Drew Hall, the GM of Apothecare, vertically integrated company that specializes in organically grown cannabis and products. Jim was there, and we showed a little inside of the store a couple of weeks ago. It was pretty cool. So we're going to get more in depth in that conversation. And then of course, Q, the awesome Q, the great Q, friend of the show, friend of the industry, many things. We're going to talk about her high tea parties. We're going to talk about the culture line of products that she has. She's going to be the MC for a virtual hash bash. We will talk about that, plus the fact that people are going to be physically gathering, and some people informally this year. We will talk about that too. And maybe we'll ask her what she thinks about this too, because she's very heavily involved in a lot of the political side of stuff as well. But Rick, please.
Okay, do I get to answer now? All right, good. Jamie, we're taking
Yes.
care of some housekeeping. And all that's important stuff for Jamie to mention. I'm just teasing on him. Fact is that what Jamie talks about is a very big concern. We passed this law in 2018. Everybody knew that there was $20 million to be allocated when it first came in. Everyone knew there'd be plenty of money to allocate the $20 million. So for someone to say at this particular point, we just now realized we're supposed to have some kind of a process through which we take applications for this bountiful harvest of millions of dollars seems disingenuous, especially considering last year there was a push by some conservative lawmakers to change the designation of where this money is supposed to go from veteran PTSD studies to a study in Michigan about police suicides, which had absolutely nothing to do with cannabis at all. So when I look at a move such as this, instead of giving it directly to the place we pretty much designated where it was supposed to go, that they're going to take an applications process now, that to me just bespeaks of fuckery, and I'm very concerned about it. Debra Young, you have a nose for fuckery. What do you smell about this one?
Yeah. I mean, first, let's say, yeah, it's great the communities are getting. I think Ferndale's getting like 120 some thousand. That's great.
Not
Right.
trying to diminish from
This is
that
awesome.
success at all.
But the other thing is very suspicious. You know, it's like if we weren't watching, would anything really be done ever? I mean, come on. So, you know, I think that the whole thing is kind of crazy. I think if we weren't watching closely, these funds would have been diverted to some cop program for sure. That's what they wanted to do, you know, until people, you know, it was a big uproar about it. So, you know, yeah, I'm really suspicious. The state is saying, well, you know, we've got this program. It's not sexy, so we didn't announce it, like the money to the communities. I mean, that's what people is really worried about, blah, blah, blah. I think that's what their stance is. So we'll see what happens now. But yeah, you got to watch these people. You got to watch them so closely because they will fuck us at all times. And they've done it before and they'll do it again. And especially they get empowered when they manage to sneak something by. They almost snuck that cop shit by us, you know?
You know, government's not been a very good steward of the medical marijuana program
Right.
here in Michigan. And this is another example of it, as was, you know, mouth swabs for drug and impaired driving.
But quickly though, I would like to say that the kick out was like 28 grand per dispensary or per facility in each city or municipality, which is a pretty good kickback because I remember we were campaigning, they were saying, well, you know, the communities aren't going to get that much, where they can get like a half a penny on a dollar and a couple. That's not a bad haul for a city like Ferndale to roll in 120 grand a year, and I would think it'd be getting more. That'll pay, you know, to rehab a park. We've got parks we had to cancel rehabs on. They were going to put in parks and they ran short 100 grand. This would do it. This is a beautiful thing. I would love to see everybody get in on this. Communities who are not in on this yet, look, just, you know.
So I want to throw in there that Annie Somerville posted recently. She's trying to allocate some of those funds coming in from this to the social equity program in the city.
Mm-hmm.
So all good there, but that's not exactly the point. Go ahead.
Yeah, but that, you know, but then it's kind of like they say, oh, look at what we're doing over here. So, you know, like shining something shiny over here so they could do something bullshit back here that maybe you won't object to because you're having so much fun over here. We are watching.
Certainly when they show a spreadsheet that has one city in your county with $120,000 and one city in your county with $28,000, people in that one city are going to go, how come we can't get the 120?
Right.
And it's because restrictive zoning that was enacted by city councils that only allowed a single or a couple of centers to open per community instead of giving it a much bigger penetration. We are going to probably still struggle to see municipalities adopt pro-cannabis ordinances because all those who really wanted to already have. But some cities that only allowed a few centers may open up and allow more centers now.
Don't you think? I think they might make some adjustments. Some will, some won't, but I think some will.
And Rick danced around one of the nefarious concerns, the state throwing out the money to the municipalities now and making a big deal about it so that they can try to entice more people to get involved, to raise more revenue, possibly.
Yep. Jim Salame, we talked in 2018 about having won the election, but still having to shepherd the program through the next few years. This is one of those shepherding moments, wouldn't you agree?
It is, and it's it's definitely a little suspect. There's a lot of things that need to change, and I agree with Deb and in what she was saying about just where money's going in these cities and more cities jumping on and needing to use that money for cannabis. And I think we need to use it for changing just what's coming out of the departments in each county for the health departments. Like Washington County Health Department does have information on their website that talks about cannabis use, but we need to put some of these funds, allocate them towards educating to keep that going as well in our communities, and educating about cannabis and usage and safety, and how it's completely safe, and I think that'll go a long way. You could chalk it up for them having some oversight on this issue, but it sounds like a great time to champion, like stand up on a pedestal for cannabis and what it does for communities and what it does for veterans, and give that money to veterans and for research. It sounds like that would be a perfect opportunity to like call that out into the public view instead of trying to sweep it under the carpet.
Well, what we are concerned with is we know that 2021 will be a year where we try to unify the medical and the recreational or adult use programs as far as business licensing goes. And when we have both the medical and adult use acts open for manipulation, things can sometimes get changed that aren't necessarily beneficial to us. Colin MacDougall, I mean, you've been a part of politics, having worked for a county commissioner's office, plus all the different things you've done politically in campaigns. I mean, it's a legitimate concern to think that perhaps other forces are trying to use this issue to maybe piggyback on worse things.
Yeah, it's a legitimate concern for all of us, and thankfully we have a pretty good network that like acts when they know something's up, and they let all of us know, and we have the ability to like quickly jump on it, and which is really cool. But like Deb was saying, like, they want you to like, they go like this, oh, there's two now, and then it's over here, and there's it's just it's tough to like work with them because they don't want to work with us like at all. And there's still a lot of people out there under the guise of marijuana is like bad for children and all these other bring crime into your neighborhoods and whatnot. And I just know, like, I mean, there's still like a lot of cities around me and like Southeast Michigan where like there's like the most of the population is that still don't have like any dispensaries. There's like outliers like Ferndale, and I know Detroit is supposed to like get on, like has some, but like still like downriver doesn't really have any. And you gotta there's just more places and population centers in Metro Detroit that definitely need that. And I hope that they see like some of the benefits, like looking at like 28,000 a year per dispensary on average, and how they can fix different things. I know a lot of like roads and stuff could definitely use some excess like maintenance or loving all across Southeast Michigan.
Yeah.
Colin, we paraded moms with sick kids in front of legislators. We talked about personal freedoms and righting the wrongs of the war on drugs, and it didn't move a lot of legislators. But as soon as we dangled the dollar sign in front of them, they came to Jesus pretty fast. And
we knew that, though. I mean,
I know.
we
We tried to give them a chance to do it the right way for the right reasons, and then they just proved their true character to be.
Yeah, but that's why, that's why the proposal was written so specifically, just to try and ward off some of the bullshit that everybody knew would come from the money grab.
And like that's what we tried to do, and like we just tried to like make it as like tight as possible because we knew bullshit was coming from every angle, and like
But when you start writing
Totally.
checks, it's like ringing a church bell to some people. They come running to get one, and when we have a visual representation like this, they do too. Same. That's the reason why the 20 million is at stake, Colin. Wouldn't you agree? Because that's a really big stake.
It's a
So some
lot.
of the large dogs have come off the porch to try and get a piece of it, eh?
Yeah.
Cops need to buy some more tanks and shit.
20
Yeah.
million.
You know,
Rick brings up
Yeah.
also the fact that the laws are coming together, and in some of the ways that's being looked at, police end up getting some proceeds of those funds, which is a point of contention for some of us because the original law was designed specifically to exclude police from getting funding.
And to end the
Right.
funding of police, which was included in the MMFLA program. I would like to point out, too, that last year's legislature grabbed $17 million from the medical marijuana program and converted it to the general fund. 17 mil. That they just said, okay, you got extra money, we're going to take it from you. We said they can't do that, but the legislature came up with a way to do it, and they got it done. Maybe that's 2 years ago, or instead of 1 year. I can't really recall.
Well,
But-
me and Jim last week with Decriminalized Nature Michigan, we had this really cool like action hour, and I'd like to hold some more of them. And I think that we should do something with Michigan Normal on these type of like issues, like when they come up. And I think that we could probably drive some change in our state. What I like worry about is other states, you know, and like how crummy their cannabis laws are and how, you know, they're not going to be able to like make as good of a law as like ours, or, you know.
Colin, your feelings are well founded. I share them. I had Director Brisboe on 420 Post not that long ago, and I asked him. He's a kind of a big shot in this big national organization of the people that run state marijuana programs, and they've gathered together to, you know, problem solve, share best practices, and also influence federal policies. And I said, look, as far as that goes, Michigan's up here, and a lot of other places are down here. What I don't want is for us to drop Michigan's program to make it more in line with some of these shitty programs. And he said, well, we're not having those kind of discussions, and I can't imagine that we would reduce what we already have and blah, blah, blah. But there was not a lot of commitment there. There was a lot of bluster.
And likewise, when we combine laws, we don't going to peel back anything that we've already achieved, and we're not going to compromise shit that we specifically did in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, there are some things we need to fix. We need to make micro businesses more workable. We need to, I would love to get caregivers back into the system as a supply chain issue, but I seriously doubt we won't do that. We're headed towards an oversupply situation right now in Michigan with our cannabis producers. In Canada, they're about 2 years ahead of us up in there. Canada has 1 billion grams of cannabis, 1 billion grams of cannabis on the shelves and in storage right now, a 3-year supply. Gigantic cannabis companies in Canada are shutting down their cultivation operations, you know, leaving hundreds and hundreds of people without jobs because they can't continue to put cannabis on the shelf. They've got so much stored up
there's
already.
a shelf life though. I mean, the stuff's going to go bad. I mean, after a
In
certain amount of
Canada,
time, it's just going to be trash.
They allow it to be irradiated in Canada in order to eliminate mold and any
It's still going to
pests. But
taste bad or be flavorless, and it's going to be dry. I mean,
We said on
even
Medical
if you
Mondays,
humidify it, it's going to be, you know, kind of
I
weird,
agree,
like
but
spongy.
they
the
used to
point
take,
is about overpopulation, not necessarily about the quality. Because I agree.
just
that
to be
the
more
quality-
gross though, they used to take everything, the stems, whatever, everything, grind it all up, and then send that in a package to the end recipient.
And they would send it through the
Wow.
Canadian Postal Service, right? Because they're not afraid of Canada of cannabis in Canada. Not like we require, you know, a 3-person, you know, military helicopter escort, blah, 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 like Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of stuff in order to deliver cannabis here. And they're sending it by Canadian Post. So
Adam's here, Brooke, on our comments and making sure that we understand how honest and above board our legislature is, and how confident he is that they'll just take
he
care of
must still be loopy
Yeah.
from his recent back surgery, because if
Yeah.
that's what he's saying, I know that's not how he truly believes.
it. You know, and on Medical Mondays, I brought up Adam was on there. I think we had a good discussion actually. That's a good one for people to check out. And we brought up the descheduling thing. That's a consistent theme, and I'm talking about on a statewide level. You know, one of the things that would be compromised, and we've addressed the roadside swab testing thing, its connection to that program is by the placement of cannabis still on the controlled substances list. So it would stop that. But also, people are not getting their licenses reinstated from the Secretary of State if they are even a medical marijuana patient. And it's because it's on that stupid list. So that's
What licenses are they not
driver's
getting?
licenses are not being
Drivers.
reinstated, even when people are just medical marijuana patients.
Yep.
Patients. And the fact that it's on the list is the reason.
Have we seen some documentation on that, Jamie? Because man, that's
Yeah. Well, it's not uncommon. Hey, Jeff, I think Jeff tried to get on earlier. Jeff Milberg is in the comments. This is going on with Chad Morrow right now. We did it on Planet Green Trees. It was the discussion last week.
They turn him
And
down
it's
every
not alone.
year
That's
for his driver's license.
for his driver's license, and he appeals it every year. I mean, he's going on what 7, 8 years, something crazy like that. And
So there's not just
the
a
reason is,
personality test that he keeps failing because I
well,
would
no,
believe
he says that he maybe at the beginning, you know, because everybody at the beginning is like, "Fuck them, I'm not going to do that. Fuck them." But after a while, you learn what they want you, you know, to see. And so he's done everything. He's done every single thing they've asked him to do. He's hired attorneys, and they still, again, every time he appeals it, they turn it down. And it's a yearly thing.
Wait, just so you have, I mean, like, because all of us, I've had a medical card forever. I've always gotten my driver's license.
renewals
Yeah, no.
come
He
March.
had like a conviction. He had like a cannabis
yeah.
conviction, not a driving conviction, but they suspended his license because of cannabis conviction.
422, everyone. We missed
Oh, all right.
420.
Well, I was
All
smoking
right.
through it.
No.
Yeah.
But hey, Paul Youngs is on here, who is an attorney.
All right.
He is a little, sounds like surprised at what I was saying. I'd like to believe that it doesn't go on as described the other week.
This
But
just happened.
the attorneys there were saying that it's not uncommon, but hopefully he hasn't had to see too much of that, and maybe it isn't as widespread as we think. But what I was saying, Paul, is that people who are even using cannabis medically are being denied reinstatement of their licenses by the Secretary of State because of the fact that they're using a controlled substance. That's how it was explained to me. I'm not involved in any particular case or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. Paul's a great guy. He's a good attorney. We have
One of
a
the
lot of
prisoners
wonderful-
one of the prisoners that we're helping out right now, Jason Samanski, the reason he's in is like they gave him a parole violation for smoking, even with this card. And added,
Especially now,
you know,
after that last ruling, he should be in.
Yeah, he
Right.
should be, but I
Better
mean, this
position.
happened before the ruling. Before that, it depended on the judge you went in front of. You could file a motion, and a judge could either say, "Okay, cool, you know, I agree," and
Right.
you can go ahead and medicate, or the judge could say, "Oh, hell no," and you can't even be around cannabis. You
that
can't, you know.
uneven pattern of justice that
Right.
wrapped our state for so
Shelly,
long.
did you catch the original conversation about the veteran funds from proceeds from the excise tax and our concern over why that wasn't announced or promoted first?
me, are you talking to me, Shelly? Are you talking to
Because
the?
you came on late and we were talking to everybody about.
Oh, okay. I did not. I was
Okay.
talking with a neighbor.
Okay, well, that
So
That's good.
has its time and place too. And it's very
right, especially
I'm
when
sure
they're
you were
on your,
masked up.
especially when they're on your porch, going through cigarette butts and other things
Oh.
on your porch.
And other butts.
The required
Whatever.
supervision.
Picking on another person's porch is better than butt picking on your own.
I was supervising a
Yeah,
unannounced
definitely.
neighbor visit, to
So,
put
Shelly,
it one way.
In brief, then what we spoke about was the $20 million that's supposed to go towards veterans PTSD money research was not allocated before they gave money out for the municipalities, the $28,000 per retailer that they just recently did. They're giving us a kind of a two-step kind of a runaround on what's going on and why. We're a little concerned about it, and we wondered if you had thoughts about that.
So it was supposed to be earmarked for a certain thing and it just didn't go there?
Yeah, exactly. It's supposed to be earmarked for an FDA-approved study of cannabis use among veterans and the resolution of their PTSD syndromes.
And have you already spent the whole last week calling them out, or when did it happen? It was just
Of
released,
course.
wasn't it?
Yeah, it just was released. Yes, it was big
That's
news
what it is.
earlier this week about the monetary gifts that they had, even though we knew last week it was coming.
Right. Well, I wish I was less cynical at this point in my life, but I don't, I wish I was surprised that government-run distribution and use of funds was inefficient and off the mark. I mean, I really wish I was. It would take me back to a
You are so
time of
smart.
innocence and hope, but like dealing with, the deeper I get into either someone going through the justice system or somebody trying to deal with any kind of bureaucracy, it's just like, I don't know if I can take it. Do you know what I mean? I almost don't know if I should be interacting as much with bureaucracy as I am right now, just because it's so, like
Such a headache.
it's such a headache, and it's the most inefficient. Like I came on and someone was saying like, Annie is trying to get money going towards this thing. And I remember thinking way back when the pandemic started, I was trying to get a hold of somebody in city council or somewhere. I was like, hey, nobody's on the road. We could like fix Ipsy roads. There's like giant
Right.
potholes. We could like do it right now. No one's driving. Let's go, And like, just the realization that that's never gonna happen, like in a certain area. And when you go to another area, like I was in Holland this past weekend, and there's not a piece of trash in the world, and there's free parking everywhere, and you're just like, oh, this is
A better way.
a better way. And it's also just like, I don't know the machinations of like money comes in and then someone just starts sending it where? Like, how does that even work? And when I get into those offices or like bureaucratic, like I used to work for a bureaucratic adjacent organization, and that even blew my mind of how we worked. I was just like, I don't freaking understand how the money is being distributed. I just did not understand. So I wish I was surprised that the money didn't go to veterans research, or maybe it's just sitting on someone's desk somewhere
It
and
now
they forgot to put it in a folder or something.
That's exactly what the excuse was.
Well, now they've been called out. They
Yeah,
claim there's a plan. There's a
yeah.
plan.
After some
course there is.
other like kind of dodging the answer, there was a response that said, yeah, we got the money and applications are gonna be accepted soon, but it still doesn't solve why we didn't know about that first.
Let me say
Yeah.
this though. Trying to steal money from veterans and PTSD studies on cannabis is sort of the governmental equivalent of rummaging through your neighbor's used cigarette butts on their porch. It really is the lowest example of behavior you can see. Why would anyone want to try and take money from veterans?
Well, and literally, Rick, I don't think anybody's trying. I think it literally it was in a folder, and the folder got put under another folder, and they had a meeting, and the meeting was boring. And then somebody forgot to tell somebody something. And because the job is not that fun and engaging, they just, do you know what I mean? I 90% of the time think it's less like, it's not vicious. It's just the way bureaucracy plods along with like,
Yeah, maybe it's less sinister and more inefficiency, just raising its ugly
I think
head.
so. I mean, that's what I've seen.
But in the cannabis industry, we've been trained by government's past behavior to look in the corners for sinister creatures, because they sometimes, the most dangerous ones are the ones you don't see till the very end, and that's what concerns me sometimes. So,
Hey, we have to go check on Drew and Anthony over here. I'm concerned that some really nice organic plants are getting contaminated. But we get a twofer here. Anthony Freed, and this is super old school.
I know. I never anticipated being on your illustrious program.
No, but here you are. So cool. And I'm not sure if Colin and Shelly and Jim know Anthony, but Anthony Freed, he started Third Coast with us many, many, many moons ago.
That makes you feel old, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to see you, man.
Oh, the gray in your beard makes me feel old, Anthony. My gosh. So yeah, but what a wonderful place you guys are in.
Yeah.
That's Apothecare's grow facility. Is that right?
Well, actually, we have a little surprise for everybody. It's a pop-up clone shop in
Oh,
the old space that we used to dispense from here on the Plymouth Road Mall. We have our new state-of-the-art provisioning center on the ground floor now. So if anybody comes by, they don't come up to the old suite unless you want clones. The cured flower is downstairs.
Looks
Hey,
great.
we got a shot of that inside of the store, or was a couple weeks ago when Jim was there with you. Beautiful. I got to see it myself earlier, and what a cool operation there.
Yeah, that looks great up there too.
Nice to meet you. I just walked past your old store.
Yeah, it's a really great space, and we can fit quite a bit up here. We've got like 15 genetics right now, and we're getting ready to get a large seed stock in over the next couple of days. But we're sourcing from caregivers that we can also see the flower. That's one thing that's really important for us, is to be able to see what type of the end result it produces. Otherwise, it won't make the shelf.
Are those being sold or considered also in the organic certified world as other parts of the operation are?
So I am working on a line, but in order to do that, we really have to have a mother plant that's in organic certified soil, so that we can say that any cuttings are not only in organic medium, but they came from a mother plant that was also in organic medium.
Okay.
So we will, use sustainable farming techniques like that on everything.
Sure.
It's just easier for the employees really at that point. They're just adding water because the plants are actually in food. And then from that point, the grower can put them in whatever they want. If it wants to go into cocoa, if they want to go into pro mix, they'll be able to do that. We'll also have plugs here for people that want to grow in the hydro blocks and the Grodan blocks. So we'll have those available here as well. And we're going to do feminized seedlings for people, so that are already sprouted, started, so they'll be able to pick those up here as well. We're still getting labeling and packaging and everything. We're still hanging a few lights, but we are open. We do have clones here available already.
Hey, is that a special kind of license, or is that just part of the regular license? Because I A, love that idea, but B, have not seen it before. And I don't go into dispensaries a lot, so I don't know, but is that new?
Well, so, in the great tradition of cannabis entrepreneurship, we are in a gray zone. This is a non-THC product because it does not contain any THC. They're cuttings, right? So until they bloom, and in the MRA language, it's not a true cannabis plant until it's formed a root ball. So we're basically, if anything doesn't move fast enough and it becomes a root ball, then it's got to go. But, we really felt that this was a complementary business. Apothecare is an all organic grow and retailer, but we really are focused on the medical patients, and we know that it's sometimes difficult to afford buying all your medicine retail. So we wanted to offer our patients and our adult use clients an opportunity to get some plants in the ground this spring.
And I wanted to point that out, or in their small home setup or whatever it is too. And it's true. What you are doing is helping to support another source of cannabis that is not necessarily somebody coming into your store and buying a product. And I appreciate that. And you know, it's part of the perspective of not believing that every little type of cannabis activity out there is some type of competition to these retail commercial sales. The pie is big enough for all of this stuff. And sometimes that is an important thing to preserve, an important part of somebody's cannabis.
Amen.
Well, I mean, that's one of the only reasons why I'm sitting in the chair next to Drew.
Type of cannabis
Because that's something that Josh and Lewis talk about, you know, the owners here, that they talk about every day, about not wanting the caregivers to go away, about figuring out a way to provide, you know, a bridge of communication for them to become part of all of this in a way that they want to be a part of it. You know, that in the sea of, am I allowed to say garbage owners, garbage licensing owners? I don't know what I'm allowed to say. But there's a lot of owners that I've met in the last 36 months. I've had a lot of job offers of people that should be selling bottled water, let alone cannabis. And just because they're not here for the right reasons, in my opinion, there's no passion. It's all about the money. It's, you know, and you know, really here, you know, we're a business, so we're in business to be in business, but it's really motivated from a real place of integrity, because it was really hard to get me off my couch. So I am really excited about the things that we're going to do as a company over the next 12 months, and this is just one example of that.
Yeah. Appreciate it. And then the other thing is, this is a organic based operation, and the cultivation is done organically. And for a lot of people, particularly small growers, caregivers, that's the standard. Right, comes right after Medical Mondays, the Michigan Grow Show. All those guys around the other day talking about their journey in growing, and they have all ended up growing completely organically now, after picking away at it for so long. And that's their ultimate standard. And that is really commendable. But in the commercial world, there are some challenges with that.
Yes, yes, there are. We have found them. We continue to find those challenges.
But it still is cool. But just talk about the philosophy and, you know, and what, you know, how that works out for you.
Yeah, well, you know, this company, I like Anthony, I'm very lucky to have found them. I worked for some, you know, a hedge fund billionaire that decided they wanted to invest in cannabis, and that was a nightmare. But, you know, we know that the cannabis plant is, it's medicine, it's a lifestyle, and we want to be able to provide that to people in a safe and clean way. Like, a lot of people like hydroponic and they like salt, you know, salt grown, and that's great if you like that, but we feel that the ultimate quality and user experience comes from a soil grown, natural environment type of plant that's hand trimmed and well cured, so that it's not just potent and flavorful, but also burns really well and doesn't have any extras in it. You know, even the state regulations, you know, with the testing, you can still pass with a little bit of pesticide. You can still pass with a little bit of fungicide on your plants. We don't want any fungicide or pesticides on our plants. We want the finished product to be as healthy as it is, you know, growing wild in the forests of Acapulco or on the Hindu steppe, you know.
Right on. Isn't it possible that there could be a testing flag for beneficial microbial?
Well, we would love to be an advocate to the state and make sure that they understand that, you know, we could have about as much microbials as are on a grocery store apple and be healthy and safe for everybody. But unfortunately, the testing is much more strict for that. So we hope that we will be able to show the state really what's important for the health and safety of medical patients and of adult use patients.
And what's the difference between the adult use standards in this regard and the medical standards? Is there a difference?
The medical standards have about a 10 times as fine test result. So we're lucky in that we are growing medical grade and it's organic and we are passing testing. So it goes to show we have good standards and practices. Unfortunately, not always do we get it through, but we're kind of prepared and we understand that's part of our operations. We will fail some testing because of the way we grow our plant.
Drew, batch for testing is 25 pounds. Do you frequently test 25-pound batches?
That would be a better question for our actual grow team. I'm on the retail side. I would assume that they are probably trying to go a little bit smaller than that in case they do get one fail, it doesn't lose the whole batch. But that's always it's like the equation. How much do you lose in testing the small quantities versus saving and testing larger batches? So.
That's exactly what I was thinking too, is that, instead of a 25-pound batch, if you did to 10-pound batches, you may be paying for 6 or 7 extra tests, but the risk of loss would be minimized if one of them turned out to be negative. Do you have an opportunity to repair your cannabis if it tests negative, if it tests positive for things?
Yeah, well, I think for the most part, as far as I know, that if we do get a test that's high in microbiotics or whatever, we will, some of that stuff will be fresh frozen, and then it gets turned into concentrate because that doesn't require any extra remediation. We won't use ozone remediation or X-ray remediation. And for those who know, remediation just means basically killing off the things that are failing your test, and then retesting it because it degrades the quality too much. So if you find it on our shelves in cured flower form, it means that it passed testing the first time through and we didn't have to do any extra steps.
The organic certification status is incredibly unique, and it requires a whole process of evaluation of your systems and things like that, your chemistry. Can you discuss a little bit about how difficult it was to achieve that? And also, how many other people in Michigan are you aware of in the cannabis industry that have achieved that designation?
Well, so the short answer is the USDA has the rights to label something organic, correct? The USDA does not certify cannabis THC product as organic. They do hemp. So our CBD line is our USDA organic certified. Now for cannabis, what we did is we joined with a company or didn't join, but we asked Certified Kind. Certified Kind is a certification platform that is based out of Oregon, and the former founder of Oregon Tilt started this. And it goes beyond just using sustainable organic practices, but also water remediation or water conservation, packaging, and fair labor standards. So if you go to our website, you'll see a logo that says Certified Kind, and we're at apothecare.arbor.com. You can click on that and it will take you to the site and you can read all the things that they require. They go beyond what the USDA requires to certify something as organic.
Anybody else in the state has Certified Kind that you're aware of?
As far as I know, we don't have anybody else that's Certified Kind. We do have other companies that are growing organically, and we're actually hoping to partner with them and offer some of their products as well for sale if necessary. If we can't meet the demand, then we have some people that we're talking to bring other products into the store. But for all intents and purposes, it is an organic product.
Jim Salame?
Yeah, Drew, what I liked about your product was the packaging. Could you just talk about that a little bit, the little packets that come inside?
Real quick, speaking of packaging, Adam Brook is requesting that Debra move over and reveal Rick's package because he hasn't seen that in a while.
There you go.
There it is. All right, go ahead, Jim. Sorry.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thanks.
Yeah, so we use a company called Pallets, and they provide us with all our drams, our eighth packaging, and our pre-roll packaging, and our ounces. It's a 100% recyclable product, but it's actually able to break down in the environment after about 10 years. So as opposed to like plastics that live forever, or the Mylar bags that you see a lot of the companies producing that are basically not able to be recycled and just go into the trash stream. All of our packaging is, will break down over time, but can be 100% recycled in your curbside recycling.
I think that's awesome.
And it keeps it airtight, and we package everything at all our eighths anyway, and ounces with a Boveda hydration pack, so it'll keep it well hydrated, and it won't turn to dust in your fingers like some places do. I bought flour from some dispensaries around town and opened it up, and as soon as I touched it, it basically pulverized to dust. So not exactly a pleasant experience.
We just talked about that regarding Canada. You're right.
Yep.
Jamie.
When I walked in, there's monitors on the wall in the entryway before going into the actual area that Jim showed us a couple weeks ago in there. And on the screens were a really nice, large close-up of the bud, and three or four of the major terpenes listed around its side and no other information. And I just thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
To emulate that.
They have incredible hash. I love the Death Star you guys have on your menu right now. And and as a part of Hash Lovers of America, it's great to see somebody with hash.
Yeah, I was glad that you got that, because I was hoping you'd enjoy that.
Hash Lovers of America is a thing. Why am I not a member of this? Why am I just not being told?
I want to get a box in my mail every month from the Hash Lovers of America Club. Yes.
Yeah, there's
I know. I'm just seeing that on the shelves too, like everywhere.
Beats Dollar Shave Club, hand down. So, Apothecare, are your products available in other distribution facilities across the state, or are they exclusive to your own four walls?
No, yeah, we wholesale, and we have partners throughout the state. We actually just, oh man, they're gonna be mad at me. I forgot the name, but we're now available in Houghton. So we're all the way up in the is it the Keweenaw, the Leewenau, the peninsula?
Northern Specialty Health up there?
Houghton Hancock.
It could be. I'd have to pull it up, but we're also like Lake Effect on the west side of the state. Mm-hmm. We did just join the New Standard, so we're in Hazel Park. If anybody's down there, you can swing by New Standard and grab some of our products. But yeah, we're in about, I think, almost 10 other retailers now. So that's really exciting. We're the only place in Ann Arbor. The other nearest place you can find us is at 4:20 in Jackson.
That's outstanding. Well, great. And 2021 has to look like just a wonderful year going forward for you. As we come out of the pandemic, the industry never sagged. We continue to exceed expectations. And it looks like well-positioned gentlemen like yourselves are in for a good ride.
Yeah, we're just really, thankful and happy that we were able to get the new space open, because this little shop that we're sitting in right now was the old provisioning center. It was so small, there was really no way to meet COVID guidelines. So we were curbside only. So now we're able to actually get people into the store and let them look at our product and really talk to them, take some time with our medical patients and our adult use guests and really find something that fits their needs. And looking forward to a great spring, a great summer, and thank you guys for all your advocacy and making Michigan one of the first recreational use states. I'd say, I was out in Washington State. I'm a little bit of a unicorn, I think. I was living in Seattle, so I voted for the Washington State I-502 legalization bill. I got into the industry out there, but I'm from Ann Arbor. So I moved back in end of 2017. I get to vote for and pass Michigan's adult use law, and then I get to work in Michigan's industry. So I've passed it twice.
Have you been back out to Washington or other?
Oh, I'm planning a trip back to the Olympic Peninsula, which is one of my favorite places on the planet. If anybody's ever been, you know why. This August, my birthday's in the middle of August, I always do like a week-long camping trip. So my plan is to go back out there. But it's beautiful. Seattle's great, just very, very expensive to live.
I'm imagining him as a unicorn just galloping out on one of the peninsulas.
That's pretty much.
Hey,
how I-
there's that other space up there too, which would be a beautiful lounge if that were to ever
Yeah,
come to
yeah.
fruition.
So on the horizon, it's definitely still like way out there, but we're talking about building out a consumption lounge. And we spoke about, you know, the John Sinclair Cafe project, which we think would be great. And then, you know, we have a lot of space up here. We're just going to kind of slowly develop it and, you know, hopefully become one of the state's destination spots. One of the ideas we've been talking about for a while is like a museum to the Ann Arbor advocacy history that, you know, Hash Bash, which of course we're happy to announce that we will be sponsoring Hash Bash this year. That is definitely going. We're excited to be part of the virtual Hash Bash. And then 2022, let's go on the Diag again. But yeah, I just feel like, again, I'm just so lucky. And, you know, part of it is because all the work you guys did to be able to live in Ann Arbor, work in Ann Arbor, be part of the industry, part of where the legalization effort was founded, and be able to participate in something like the Hash Bash, where I remember the 16-year-old Drew, you know, going to the Diag and smoking a joint under the tarp because it was raining, which it seems like every other Hash Bash it rains. So, and it's just a dream come true.
It snowed a couple years ago.
It
It was
did.
snowing a couple years ago.
Yes.
Still had a great hash bash though. Still people up though because we were on our way to some victories, man. It was still a good one, even
Yep.
with the weather.
Well, you know, in Ann Arbor, you're fortunate to have favorable cannabis laws, but you're also fortunate to have favorable entheogenic substance laws too. Jim and Colin were a big part of that as well, getting not only the city but eventually the whole county to sort of step back from the criminalization of the mushrooms and other substances.
Yeah, I know myself, I have used those substances to help me through some big changes, like losing a bunch of weight, quitting smoking cigarettes. I couldn't have done it without it, honestly, I don't think.
I actually, and I would have had this on my bucket list, but I didn't even know it was an option. But I actually walked out of a boardroom earlier this week after looking at several magic mushrooms and different, you know, strains, and was a very surreal moment. It's hard to keep it all in at the moment, but yeah, no, it's a brave new world out there, and to live in a place that is progressive like that is, it really, you know, not to sound cliche, but it really is a dream come true. I hope the rest of the Michigan, you know, follows suit. And I don't really think it's going to change who lives in Ann Arbor. You know, I don't think it's going to change the makeup of the town. And if that's a true statement, which I believe it is, we also live in a town with very, very, very low crime. So it's just, you know, hopefully an example that you really can have the best of both worlds, and really frees up the rest of resources for public safety to do what actually matters.
And it's like, is there any argument anymore that prohibition is insane and it's failed and there's no way prohibition will ever be successful in any of the goals that it sets out for itself? Like, we are the ones that can prove it to the country and on throughout the rest of the world, which just makes us more free, which is the American dream. So let's do it.
The Wall Street Journal puts out a newsletter each week about news stories regarding entheogenic substances and psychedelics. It's so mainstream now that one of the world's largest sources of business-related news is discussing corporate moves and new breakthroughs in medicine for a substance that's still technically federally illegal. So when we start talking about it, those that go first are the leaders. And Ann Arbor, as the first in Michigan, at least the Midwest probably, Ann Arbor really is that example for others to follow.
Yep.
And we're proud that our guys have had a hand in it, and other friends of the show too. Shelly, Julie, all those other folks too. Michael File. We've got a lot of folks, and we've supported that move for a long time too. But it does take a village to accomplish anything of significance, and this certainly was a group effort.
None of this stuff ever happens because of one person. I mean, really, one thing that I try to remind myself of often is that we're really just fortunate for people like Jack Hare and others that paved the way, John Sinclair, people that sat in jail cells, people that had their civil rights violated, their human rights violated. It's amazing that after all of that, we get to be the ones that kind of like help carry the torch to the next generation.
Well, and tradition is important too. There will be a group of people that gather on the Diag for Hash Bash at the traditional time, 12 o'clock, and more power to them. I think that the in-person event works in conjunction with the digital broadcast. There are people who want to enjoy it in one way, people who want to enjoy it in the other way, and we can accommodate either.
Hey, Mary Schneider here is telling people to be like Rick Thompson.
That's great.
Or something very similar to that.
What does that mean?
I have to add maybe just certain aspects of Rick Thompson.
Well, like people in a shower and that aspect, I think he means.
Well, I mean, hey, some of us are givers and some of us are, watchers.
He wants to
Fifteen
dress
and
up like
catching,
Jamie
are we
and
back
sit
to
next to
that?
him.
Yeah.
Hey, so before we head out, anything else you guys would like to make sure that we get in or let people know about?
Yeah, I mean, I would love for everybody who watches the podcast to stop by the shop. We're on Plymouth Road between Nixon and Huron Parkway, just on the other side of North Campus. We're open from 11 to 7 Monday through Saturday and 12 to 5 on Sunday, though we're about to be the earliest opening shop in Ann Arbor. We're going to start opening at 8 a.m. Monday through Friday. And I'm going to be the guy who's bud tending. So for those early hours. So if you're on your commute into town from, Canton or Plymouth or Farmington Hills or Livonia and you work in Ann Arbor, swing through and pick up your wake and bake supplies.
Maybe a cup of coffee in the lobby as well as a pre-roll, for the ride.
Plymouth Road Mall, so we got two places, Songbird Cafe, which is fantastic food and coffee, and we have Starbucks downstairs with a drive.
And the first one you mentioned, not open on Mondays or something.
Not open on Mondays. That's the one day you got to go to the other places. But we love Starbucks too. But it's Starbucks.
I have to tell you, I love this idea. You mentioned it just briefly of kind of a activist museum. And that is, my brain just exploded. It was like, oh my gosh, it would be so full already.
Where you can come buy flowers, smoke it, tour the museum, grab a clone on your way home.
So it's, if you search Cannabis Hall of Fame or Marijuana Hall of Fame, it is something that people have dabbled in, but it's something that I've talked about with a couple groups. And to have your, you want your building decorated in artwork. Why not have it decorated with artifacts from our history?
So it's already there, or you're thinking about making?
Conceptualized.
Oh, okay.
But we have.
Oh, yes.
And it's really just a matter of time and finances and partnerships and all the things that go into a business. But
I actually might see a couple of original inductees on the screen right now. Definitely some people that are, at least worthy of nomination.
Right.
On a commission for
should be in the discussion at some point.
We would like to be enshrined the way that Deb's background is. If you could possibly enhance the image a little bit, that would be. how I'd like to be remembered by.
You can do an actual just reproduction in my case.
The whole Rick Thompson bronze package. Can you imagine it? You know?
We'll get
That should
in
be
there.
an award
That
we
picture
give
needs
to
to be in
activists.
He needs his own wing.
The bronze package is our new award for activism in Michigan. That's what it should be. No one will want to receive it. It's
The Rick Thompson Bronze Package
Yeah,
Award.
there it goes. Yeah.
There'd be a ceremony for it every year. Nobody
wow.
wants it.
We're
with
so
authentic
doing it.
smell. Yes. No.
Yeah, we're
This
so
day
doing
in
this.
history.
This is, I'm sad to say we're recording this and it'll never go away. Everyone will remember this. So the bronze package. What a great deal.
Bronze package can be found on all the major podcast platforms.
Yeah, you have it as a little bug on your website showing that you've won this award. So I mean, when we talk about the MRTMA nowadays, I mean, there's still rules being developed by the Marijuana Regulatory Agency almost on a weekly. They're changing some things around. Are there anything that you think the MRA should be addressing? Any lack of regulation in an area where it would be due, or perhaps an overreach in places where they should scale back?
Well, I mean, I think the moving forward, I think the biggest thing is really dialing in just the threshold testing on what can be allowed on a plant. And nobody wants powdery mildew on their flower. Nobody wants mold. Nobody wants any of those things. But most of those things, if you don't see it or smell it, it's going to be within acceptable limits. I mean, we've been smoking outdoor flower with plenty of bugs on it and stuff for, I don't know, 5,000, 6,000 years, and we haven't had any problems so far. So other than that, I think it all works pretty well. We can get into can a processor have their own transport so they aren't, that the transport whole thing is a little weird to me. In Washington State, if you were a grower, you would just drive it to your customer and deliver it.
With the various reason why transporters were added to the.
I mean, it's a tax revenue generator and stuff, things like that, which is fine. It allows more people into the industry.
I think it was because people that hated us shaped that policy.
Yeah.
We're trying to create a backdoor infrastructure to a distributorship, like the tiered system.
Yeah, I'm over it.
If you establish a middleman system where you get to dominate the market, then that's advantageous for that middleman, and that's what tried to happen. But
for me, I would actually like to see processing licensing changed a little bit. If a processor, wants to do extractions and also infuse them into various products, so be it. But I really think the state missed the boat by not allowing skilled handcrafted bakers and candy makers to be able to open up shops without having the extraction equipment, so that they could be in more commercialized areas. And you could walk into that chocolate shop where everything is. It's actually something that we're working on having a real beautiful chocolate counter where you can buy something you compare to Ghirardelli or Godiva, but have it infused with CBD or Delta 8. But yeah, I really think the state should look at allowing, bakeries and cafes to operate that way, since they're not actually, posing any industrialized risk because of, methods of extraction. So that's one thing I would like to see changed.
Before we move on, I'm sorry, go ahead, Rick.
No, please, Jimmy.
Before we move on, and we're just being joined here by Q. Really appreciate you guys coming on here today. We'll check back in. The store is awesome. The philosophy is great. The organic thing, even though it's a challenge, it's really commendable that you guys are doing it, and obviously getting into a lot of stores and a lot of people liking it. And I don't think we talked about it, but you guys did win in an organic cup recently, one of your types.
Gage Green Cannabis Cup for the organic category for our Sunday driver. And I guess the last thing I could say
I
is
love Sunday driver.
we do have some more Sunday driver. Give us a couple weeks to finish it, and it should be on the shelves. And we also have a fresh harvest of somebody's name we mentioned earlier, Jack Herrera. which is one of my all-time favorite strains. And we have it in pre-roll right now, but we'll have it in flower in a couple weeks as well. I think you've got to try it. If you like Jack, it's some of the best Jack Herrera I've ever had.
I will have Jungle Boy's cut of Sunday Driver clones here as well, available in about 10 days. They're in the domes right now. But yeah, everyone that's out there, we need to rehome these. They need their forever home. It's definitely time to get your
Before root sprouts.
Could you put a blue
over
dream
there,
aside for me?
Jim's making a request. He says he wants all your blue dreams.
all the blue dreams. Okay.
I think
No,
he said
but I'm
one,
looking for
actually.
Dust Star. I'm looking for Dust Star for real. I mean,
I'll take 2 blue dreams, please.
Well, we don't have. I just got a lead on Blue Dream. It's something that is kind of hard to find nowadays.
Oh, okay.
And
He's telling you it's going to be expensive, I think.
Death Star.
Yeah.
Actually.
Okay.
what about the
Talk
Dust
to my
Star?
manager and see if we can get you
All
back.
right, hey, let's.
When the store is finished, I'd love to have you guys come and revisit and check it out. And
For sure. And
everyone can leave with a brand new baby girl.
there you go. And we'll continue being in touch too. Really appreciate what you guys are doing over there.
Thanks
Thanks a lot.
everybody. Smoke weed every day.
Nice to meet
Take
you.
care, guys.
Try.
Yeah.
All
Oh,
right.
that was a good interview too. Wonderful.
Yeah, that's some cool stuff. Even though there's, there you go, some challenges with all that, they take them on and they offer a very cool, unique thing. Q has joined us. All right, Anqunette, how are you doing?
Excellent.
And Culture, that's your line of products, CBD products, is that correct?
Yes, that's true. And I apologize. I can't find my light. I'm just like, the horror. But yeah, so sorry.
You're not going to be burning cannabis while you're talking to us, is that?
Oh, no. I always have a lighter. I don't have a
Oh, the extra light to make the video image.
yes.
Okay, that's fine. You're fine.
Jamie's mind is on a
I was
Shame
more concerned-
on you.
I was going to say, we don't mind. If you need to go get a lighter, please do. That's,
No,
we'll wait.
she's apologizing, even though she looks better than everybody on this call. She's
Yes.
apologizing
Right.
that she's not as hot as normal because of the lighting. But it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Oh, women, man. Wow.
No,
Wow, Shelly.
everyone is
I'm
beautiful.
messing with her. She knows.
So Anqunette, of course, is famous for so many different things. Of course, Fox 2 News anchor for a long time, wonderful following in Detroit, multiple sclerosis diagnosis, and of course, eventually having to step away from the news desk. But using cannabis to conquer your pharmaceutical scenario was really, I mean, that was a story that brought a lot of people to your side. How is your multiple sclerosis doing? How is your health?
Health is okay. I'll say okay. These are some stressful times, I will say that. But so trying to get the stress under control. But no, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm sure I'll be seeing a neurologist soon. As total side note, these insurance companies, I think I have an appointment, then I don't have an appointment. I get a pre-authorization, then I don't have a pre-authorization. And see, this is the reason why I said I'm done with the pharmaceuticals, because the hassle of trying to get your prescription. Anyway, but no, short answer is I'm doing okay. Thank you for asking, and happy MS Awareness Week.
Oh yeah. Wow.
As well as National
I'm
Women's
glad
Month.
you could come on here to remind people about that.
Thank you. And the orange is for MS. So
With the MICBD conferences we did, you did a very powerful presentation where you would talk about the prescriptions that you were on at one time, taking each individual pill bottle and setting it up on the podium as you described what each one was going to supposedly do for you and how many you had to take.
And how
then,
expensive it was.
Oh, ridiculous. And then I solved this one with cannabis. I solved this one with cannabis. I solved this one with cannabis. As you take them away, it's a very powerful statement of the power of cannabis. And you've really become quite the spokesperson for the industry.
well, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be one of the many great spokespeople in this industry. So I'm in great company, obviously. You guys
Those
I
skills will be applied, of
started
course, April 3rd for a hash bash, in which you're going to be the official master of ceremonies for that. A couple of us will be there with you, and
and I'm
in
grateful
fact,
for
many
that.
people on this call will be there with you, and
Yeah.
it's going to be a fun day.
I agree. I agree. You guys have been working really, really hard on it, and yeah, it's almost here. And yeah, the grand production this time. So it's always a grand production, but now it's going to be a more contained production, I guess.
Well, we talked about it a little earlier on a phone call today. There are so few opportunities for America's news media to turn their eyes on the cannabis community in a positive light. So few celebrations that we have anymore that really give an insight into what actual cannabis consumers are doing, as opposed to a little Jeezy, cannabis line opening that they cover. And the fact is that Hash Bash has to have representation from the governor and from the attorney general in order to bring that positivity and remind everybody, not just in Michigan, but nationally, exactly how normal cannabis use is and how strong we are because we're united together. And I think having a physical presence on Hash Bash is important, but also having the speeches and having the message delivered is equally as important. And that's what the digital program strives to do.
I'll smoke to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and just there are people who are going to show up at the hash bash. Permits are not being given. The city doesn't want a mass gathering, but as part of the tradition, as part of the passion that people have there, and as things have been opening up a little bit, and maybe even the weather continues to be nicer,
Mhm.
a lot of people are going to be showing up there and also paying tribute in that way.
You
But the
know,
mass gathering thing is, a little bit too early for that, and so this alternative will be going on.
I agree. And hey, protesters have, this is a community of protesters. so who are we to say, hey, don't, whatever. It's a free country. People protest against the rules, against protesting. So that's the right. And but we'll be in a studio, socially distanced, and mask when appropriate, and until this is until the numbers are better. So
And that
yeah.
that broadcast will take place via the Twitch, a broadcasting platform. Will probably be viewable on a variety of other sources, including maybe YouTube, Facebook,
YouTube,
maybe even some the Roku streaming application. We're working some stuff out, but it looks like this year's Digital Hash Bash is going to be viewable internationally with ease. Nice. It's possible too that we might get a message from Chuck Schumer, who's the Senate Majority Leader and who's pushing a lot of pro-cannabis legislation in the United States Senate. That would be a big message.
He wants to make it a focus this session and see what actually comes of it.
Anqunette, you've been doing the high tea programs though for a while, and Jamie and I we talked about it earlier. I think we both attended or each attended one of your last two in-person high tea events, but you just successfully pulled one off online. Can you talk about that and the challenges that offered you?
Well, who doesn't love a great challenge? So and COVID-19 has definitely challenged all of us. So yeah, I was doing in-person tea parties at a bud and breakfast in Detroit for a few months before COVID, and then COVID hit. And when I conducted the tea party at the summer annual for the MICIA, the Michigan Cannabis Industry Association, one of the provisioning centers asked me to consider transitioning it to an online format. So I do these with nurse Kathleen Graham. She's with cannabisnurse.com. And it's an opportunity for people to talk to a medical professional about cannabis, about how to use it, how it can be used for their specific medical issues, how to become more comfortable with it, the best ways to use it. And so we decided to try to come up with a program that's no more than an hour or so. I'm not sure how long people want to stare at a screen, especially it's sort of late at night and people are busy. And also, you know, have some people who have been staring at screens all day for work. And so maybe they may not want to, but so we want to try to be cognizant of their time and respectful of people's time and get a lot of information and opportunity in about an hour. So we start off with the brief Cannabis 101. From there, we have a brief little snippet about vapes sponsored by Select. I'm thankful for their sponsorship. And from there, we move into our discussion. Last month, it was depression, anxiety, and showing yourself some love. This month for MS awareness, it is MS and autoimmune conditions. And we spend the bulk of the time talking about how cannabis can be used to address specific health issues or circumstances. We give people the opportunity to ask any questions that they want. I give people a brief tutorial on how to use cannabis in food. So I teach them how to infuse oil or how to make their own capsules if they need to make ratio capsules. It's just a basic cannabis and how to use it in your everyday life. And we end on a high note. So we have a success story from someone who has successfully used cannabis and it has improved their life. So we hope to get all of that jam-packed in an hour.
Now this time you actually had folks that picked up kits from different provisioning centers, and then they were able to open them during the event along with others and share that experience, sort of melding the real world and the ether, right?
Yeah, so since we can't all, my in-person tea parties, one of the big draws was that if you've never used, if you've never dabbed, for example, if you've never vaped, if you've never seen a volcano, if you don't know how to roll a joint, we do all of that. So it was back in the days of puff puff pass, and cannabis was a communal experience. So since we can't do that anymore, we wanted to find a way to bring the experience to still have a sesh. So I'm really grateful that about 20 provisioning centers now all over the state of Michigan have teamed up with me, and they are participating providers of culture kits. And I put together that kit in mind from my first experience of walking into a provisioning center and being overwhelmed and just saying, give me what the last person had. So so it basically has a grinder card, a chillum, a Cannabis 101 pamphlet. It has CBD tea in it, so we can all drink our tea together. And it has an overview of the products that I have available online, my CBD line, which is CBD and other cannabinoids. And provisioning centers add an edible and flour. Some people do an eighth, some people do a couple of grams, some people do pre-rolls. It depends on the provisioning center. And it's just a way for the provisioning center to give a little sample of what they have to offer to people, and also to take out the intimidation and just say, you know what, if you don't know what you want to get, grab a culture kit. It's got a little bit of everything in it and it'll show you how to do it. And if you take too much, drink the CBD tea. So, or, just wait on the last Thursday of every month. Nurse Kathleen and I will be available at 7 o'clock, and the Zoom events are free. You can sign up on my website at cultureclub.com. And the last Thursday of the month at 7 o'clock, we can sesh together, we can sip together, and we can talk about a health issue and get some information.
Is there a registration through an Eventbrite system or through your website, Q Culture?
Yes, it's through culture because, Eventbrite is really, really tough on the cannabis industry. Even when I did events before, Eventbrite was maybe they're a bit more accommodating now, but before they were problematic with the cannabis industry. But everything is on my events page at cultureclub.com. And I also put it, and cultures with a Q because my nickname is Q. And also I'll put it out on social media. It's always on our social media as well before the events. But the easiest place, cultureclub.com. And there's even on the front, on the home page, is information about tea parties right there.
In our chat, Becky Walters says, I bought a kit, didn't get to do the online part yet. So you have only just a couple of weeks left before you have another tea party. So that opportunity will come right up.
Yes, right. So we'll see you then.
So you're also on the board of directors of the Michigan Cannabis Industry Association, plus you were just involved in the social equity work group with the Marijuana Regulatory Agency.
So before we get right into that, I wanted to talk about, and there was a little bit of discussion on Safer Mich about this, the use of social equity and racial equity. Didn't the group decide, make a decision at one point what the focus was going to be and use that term?
Well, before the group was empaneled, Michigan had a social equity requirement, and their social equity requirement in because of Michigan laws, Michigan does not keep track of racial data. So they had no way of really knowing who was taking advantage of the social equity provisions of the law. When they delved deeper, though, they did find that very few, if any, Black or brown people were taking advantage of the social equity thing, because it's not based on race, it's based on where you live. The spirit of the law was to address the inequities in arrest records. And the inequities show that if you were Black or brown, you were 4 times more likely to be arrested. So the state decided, or the MRA, I'm not sure who, but that was not the work group. When we were impaneled, social equity was changed to racial equity, and the focus of the group was specific to racial equity. And so, which brought up its own challenge, because Michigan has a provision in its law that prohibits affirmative action. So how do you have racial-based provisions when you can't mention race in the law? So, there are a couple of challenges, but still, the goal is to increase minority, specifically Black and brown, participation in the industry, and how to go about doing that. So the group came up with 16 initial suggestions on ways to increase possibly minority participation in the industry. So from here, the agency is putting together a standing advisory group, and the members of that group will take the suggestions from the first group and work on implementing those, or editing those, or dismissing those. Who knows? But that's what happens next. So, and that was the goal of the group. And yes, it did change from social to racial.
Thank you for clearing that up. It was in the air, and I didn't quite know exactly what was going on.
Let's get it out of the air.
And I continue to use the old school social equity, and maybe that's incorrect, and I should change that as far as what we're dealing with. Of the 16 recommended proposals, I know they were ranked in order of the ones that were most preferred versus least preferred. I think the least preferred got the most attention, which is the way media always works. But what were the most preferred by the group that would be suggestions that would be workable and actionable?
The most preferred was the making the micro grow more profitable. That was highly favored. The Michigan marijuana market proposal, which was the crowdfunding sort of stock market proposal, that was very popular and highly ranked. The education piece, that require some sort of education for public facing staff, and a suggestion that continuing education be offered to medical professionals here in Michigan, to have that part of their continuing education choices. Let's see. A webinar series for municipalities to help them as they draft ordinances to opt in, because we need more communities to opt in. Off the top of my head, that's that's what I can think of. Oh, a research proposal. We looked a lot at some of the research proposals, or some of the research programs that were implemented, mostly in Pennsylvania. Looked at those and tried to sort of mirror what they were doing in those states in regard to research. Yeah, that's off the top of my head. That's what I can remember. So.
Now, you were part of the Prop 1 group that helped get legalization brought to Michigan. And of course, part of that was a $20 million payment to veterans for a study for veterans and PTSD. And it appears that money has not been allocated the way it was supposed to be. Perhaps it's lost in a paperwork shuffle, or they're seeking proposals for it. But that's a concern to many of us on this call. Do you feel concerned the fact that they didn't allocate that already, and that they gave money to townships and cities already?
Yes, but it's sad to say I'm not surprised. You know, it's we all know going into this that once it's out of our hands, it's out of our hands. And
Yeah, I want to let you know it's 5:25, and
oh, thank you.
just so I know that you have another thing coming up, and
I have yes.
you're limited. But your answer, yes, seems to be kind of similar to others. That
Seems to be like all of our answers.
probably uncool, but not surprised.
Right, and you know, I mean, it would be nice if we had some more vets who were more vocal about this, because we need to. All of us here, you know, we raise the BS flag, but these are men and women who have given, you know, so much and some everything for this country, and we can't even give them the truth. And that's what's messed up, because whether you want to say, you know, do cannabis or don't do cannabis for whatever reason, right now, if you won't even talk about it with people who could benefit, you're not telling them the truth. You know, so, and that's the real shame. And then on top of it, so on top of not telling them the truth, you're taking money that could help them too, when they're killing themselves at 22 a day. So, you know, but you say you care, but your actions show questionable stuff. So,
I love it.
Right on,
yeah. But no, but yeah,
that's fantastic. Yeah, drop a bomb like that and then take a drink. Great, great news anchorish. That's awesome.
No,
Oh, I'm learning all the time from you. That's great.
oh, thanks. Oh no, from you guys, please.
No, the fact is that there's a lot going on in Michigan, and some of it's legislatively related, and some of it's culture related, and some of it's municipally related, including some issues in Detroit. I know you don't have a whole lot of time left, but I mean, I have the best of hopes for Detroit to get the legacy Detroiter issue resolved. You know, maybe through lawsuits or not, but certainly that seems like a program that could be successful if it's implemented properly. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, the caveat is if it's implemented correctly. And I'm not a legacy Detroiter. Okay, I'm not even a social equity candidate. Okay. Right, I just want to just put all of this out here. It's all of us work for the common good. And I when I look at what's happening in Detroit, I have questions. I have lots of questions, and I wonder in trying to help your community, is the way you're going about it helping or hurting? When you look at communities like Hamtramck, Highland Park, these are places that may have, I mean, you know, Hamtramck has 2 rec places, but already, so, or adult use. So what's happening? So to the 47 Detroit provisioning centers who have billboards right next to their provisioning centers suggesting they call up Lantern or somebody and get it delivered. It's a challenge, and it's I wonder how sustainable it is when you have some provisioning centers that have been operating for, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, and now all of a sudden they're being told that if they want to continue operating, they have to give up half of their business to someone they don't know.
Yeah, maybe they shouldn't. They're stretching too back in time for the legacy. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, how many years back is it? It's like 15, right?
And
That's a lot, though. I mean, there's people 10 years, you know, in the city. That's, to me, if you're 10 years in the city, how are you not a resident of the city anymore? You know, you're a resident of the city. You've been there. You're sweating along with everybody else, grunting along with everybody.
There are people though, there needs to be extra attention to going through this process and what to expect. There are people who don't have a reference at all to having a business, but who, whose lives would be elevated if they could get in on this.
Yeah. Maybe just some kind of grandfather clause. We talked about this before. People who like you had said, had opened a business like 10 years ago and they're really grunting it out and blah, 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 I don't know what the solution is, but she's right. You can't just block people who have good knowledge and could really help and really know how. It's difficult. Some of those people are shady too. So
right. So that's what I'm about to say.
So
there's risk for a predatory funding
right
coming in here. And
this is cannabis, folks.
Yes.
This is Michigan cannabis.
Anytime someone has an opportunity to achieve their dream, there's somebody there looking to stab them in the back just before they achieve it. So.
And I just think that there are some things like, because for example, Detroit is also holding up, they're doing a 1-to-1 licensing for grows as well. So that's,
I thought it was just retail.
No, it's the cap is for retail, but still, if you have a grow and you're trying to get adult use license, you're subject to the same licensing structure, and you won't get your license until legacy Detroiters have gotten their licenses. And so if you don't have a bunch of legacy Detroiters who want to set up 20,000 square foot grows, you're waiting for quite a while to get your adult license. And is that fair?
So
we feel people are go for it and fail, because that's what's going to happen. A lot of people don't know what they're doing. They're just going to fail.
Right.
Yeah, there's
see that,
there's a website, 420pullup.com. 420pullup.com helps people. It's called Black Cannabis Access by BCA.
Okay.
But
that's Mitzi's organization.
Yeah, that's an organization that's helping people at least find their way through it, because I know there are people that are charging $15,000 to $50,000 to help people get their license, and it ends
there
up
are
so there is
a whole business now. So like anything else, people move.
So there is a lawsuit, and we predicted it, and it wasn't not that was much of a stretch, and so those types of concerns that kind of Q pointed to, and some other things too, it has to be gone through the process to determine what the deal is with that. But other than that, as Rick was saying, there could be that's like one of the first ones though to try to put some teeth into like a social equity or a racial equity program.
And I just I feel too that they have 47 licensed, but 4 of the 47 are legacy Detroiters. So I don't know. I look at it like if at one time Detroit had 300 provisioning centers, would it be so bad to have 90? I mean,
right.
If Ann Arbor has 28, how many liquor stores are there?
Each area should have as many that are supported.
Right, especially like we talked about the community grab was $28,000 per facility.
Denver
they just distributed. That's nice.
Denver has several hundred, and they all function fine, and they all make money.
I just say, just stop it right now. All the rest of the licenses go to legacy Detroiters. But we're already
there. You go.
Have at it.
Right. Yeah, and the other ones are grandfathered in, and you're good. So I think it'd be fine. You have to compromise somewhere.
I would think, and I hope.
So it could have been done right up front, but it's going to be done now through the courts. But after that, hopefully there really are some people whose lives get elevated because of this new industry opportunity.
Yeah, the new industry and the taxes for the city. There's so many things they got to get this, get it to the max so that everybody benefits.
We really have to come up with a program that municipalities can embrace regarding racial equity or social equity, because the cities that have already passed ordinances allowing cannabis, it's difficult to get them to go back and add a social equity component. All their licenses are already awarded. What we need to do is be able to make sure that all the new cities that adopt brand new ordinances have an equity component to it. And if we show them an example of one that physically works and benefits their city and their residents, then people are likely to do that. And I would hope that we could come up with one of those so that every new community in Michigan that says yes gets a really good program, the way that we define really good.
I agree. Yeah. So on that note,
Yeah, you're past, you've stayed with us longer. We really appreciate it, but know that you're limited.
Thank you, Q.
thank you guys. I'm off to at the Detroit Public Library for the League of Women Voters. So we're doing communities of interest because you guys know what was also on the ballot when Prop 1 passed was Prop 3, the whole redistricting thing. So that's happening right now. So feel free to join us at the league, especially if you want to help your communities redistrict and draw your own maps. And so that way your community isn't gerrymandered like my district, the 14th.
It's gonna be a big difference in 2022 when we get that stuff straightened out. I appreciate that work on there.
No problem. No problem. Thank you guys. And thank you guys always for having me on.
Appreciate you.
Good time. See you later.
Boy, a couple of really good interviews today. That's nice.
Yeah.
So I was going to bring up this old story with Anthony earlier, and it was one of the pivotal moments, I guess, in the emergence of this whole movement to me. He put on, we were working at Third Coast together, as mentioned earlier, and he put on this chili cook-off contest in Jackson area near where he was living. And there was a tent, and you had to show your card to get in it.
This is 2010.
Yep. And we set it up where people were selling, or 29 maybe. I don't remember, but it could have been 2010. I guess
It was after Third Coast opened, so it was 2010.
Okay. Well, I don't think it was after Third Coast opened because this was the first time I saw sales. That's what I'm trying to say. Like in this tent, you had to show your card, and then there was like a couple of jars up on the counter, and somebody was selling like $10 grams or something like that. And I was like, wow, this is really
It's happening.
Can we
Yeah.
do this, you know?
That's fantastic.
Oh,
You know, there's
he was a force, man, back then. He's a little bit more mellow now, you know, but he was kind of a force, for better or worse.
First time I came to Third Coast, we'd begun publishing Michigan Medical Marijuana Magazine in December of 2009, and I went there in November. It was still nice outside to interview Anthony at Third Coast. Never been there before. Kirk Reed had a roller in his hand, a paint roller. He was rolling paint on the walls, and Jamie was somewhere. But I went into Anthony's
working my ass off
somewhere.
Yep.
Right.
No, you were not. Absolutely not working your ass off.
Probably smoking people down.
that was your job. Then you were
Peanut butter was painting too. Yep.
Yep. So but
Work in the room.
Anthony has his desk, and he's got like 3 cameras pointed at his desk and a light pointed at his desk, and he's got this really nice chair, and he's clearly, you know, making the focus of all attention was on that one particular spot. And he was a bombastic character back then, and because of that, got a couple more media interviews than maybe he would have otherwise if he was just bland and boring.
And he ended up leaving for various reasons. He'll talk to people about it, I guess. You know, I have, and you know, it's just we're in the future now, and he's mellowed out. And but one of the reasons that I kind of like came more to the forefront in that whole operation was because of his leaving, and because he had established already that media train, and somebody had to kind of step into it and answer the questions when they came by.
So if not for him, we would not have the great Jamie Lowell.
That's very possible. He was definitely a big part of how everything unfolded early on. There's no question about that.
And he had big dreams. Not only did he dream of having a distribution center there, but early plans to have a glass shop inside there. Also a social lounge downstairs at the place, and the big event at the Eagle Crest Golf Course in Ypsilanti. A lot of the big.
We did all that, man. We used to have that room where people could, after they purchase their shit, go use it, which is how it should be, you know. And
we had one at Big Daddy's, and it was the highlight of the place. I'll tell you.
Hell yeah, that was in Oak Park. Yeah. Well, really, probably at all of them, on some level. But.
Well, no, in Burton it was just a trailer. There was no space there actually to do it, but in Detroit they did. But you know, but no, I mean, the fact is, Anthony was there at the beginning of the medical era. So, yeah, give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, there's a little history. We try to slide some in. We got a twofer with that interview.
When you talk about people having some longevity in the industry. Some people had to leave the state to find their success. Some people kicked around and decided Michigan was really the place they needed to be. I just like to see folks get what's due. You know, so rarely does it happen anymore. I just like to see folks make good. So,
Learned a lot along the way and has done some consulting and is lined up with these guys who have a similar philosophy. So I hope everything works out.
yeah. So as far as the digital hash bash goes, we talked a little bit about it being on Twitch. We talked about some of the people that are going to be on there, but let's talk a little bit more about it in the few minutes we have left on the show because it's a big deal. We put out a press release this week and it talked about some of the amazing folks that are going to be on the program, but we're going to have representatives from 4 major sports on there. We'll have Calvin Johnson representing the football, Joel Zumaya from the baseball, of course, Darren McCarty, our big dude from the hockey, and Al Harrington of Viola Products, based in Detroit. Al Harrington from the basketball world. So in
Eugene
addition,
Monroe too.
that's true. Yeah. Well, so in addition to having a lot of politicians and figures, decision makers, we're also going to have a good representation of people who've come from professional world, could have retired and not ever touched cannabis ever, and chose to do this because this is where their passion fell. That's inspirational as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Jim?
Yeah,
Jim?
yeah,
Well,
go
I was
ahead.
just going to say it just speaks a lot to just how wide ranging, cannabis travels to helping people in sports. And you're seeing more like from the NBA as far as I think with the bubble, they didn't test for cannabis for people in the bubble,
Right.
Oh, wow.
which I thought was pretty telling. I think the NFL is starting to lessen their rules on it too. So it's good to see.
Imagine what those hotel rooms smelled like. They weren't testing for cannabis. They must have just, these guys don't care about a damage deposit. Are you kidding me? They're making millions. So,
Well, you would have to
all
if you were
day.
like locked in a hotel room
Oh
for
my
weeks on
God.
end. Shit, delivered little styrofoam packed meals. Hell,
Yeah.
Rick knows all about that. He
yeah.
knows about hotel rooms.
Oh, are we
Rick knows
talking
about
about?
hotel rooms. Well, you've been there
Don't
with
give him the
or something?
platform, man. He likes to own those things, and then it comes.
Rick's
A lot
a
of people would be
traveling
jealous
man,
if
apparently.
they had 5 people in a shower. A lot of people would be jealous about that. We'll just leave it vague. And they can imagine.
Yeah.
Way to go.
You Motel 6, man.
No, actually,
Watch Medical Mondays from last night. And
can't get 6 people in a Motel 6.
graphic depiction
Absolute
of
no
that
way.
very scene.
Big old casino. Big old casino. Bathtub. You know it. Walk-in shower with the glass walls all around.
Oh,
Yep.
shit.
I know. Got to be first class if you're going to go a half dozen in the wet room.
God.
Yeah. Well, 2 shows have now been ruined by this story.
3, I'd say. At least.
But I'm not so
It's
bad at
spilled
ruining.
over into another
Three
show.
shows in a row. 3 shows in a row.
I am the master of destruction. Ha ha. No. Digital hash bash, though, if we come back to that, we're also going to have Laith Al-Sadi, of course. Laith, famous for many, many reasons, but one of the things he does better than anybody else, in my opinion, is play the Star Spangled Banner at the beginning of hash bash. Jim.
Yeah, it's one of it's a classic. It's nostalgic. And he's an amazing guitarist that performs like no other. It's gonna be great to have him.
It's
Jamie,
like Hendrix at Woodstock or something,
I mean,
No, it is.
Hey, so Adam's saying he
Reminder.
talks about it on Dab and Stab too, so add another show on there.
nice. So yeah, he loves my shower story as well. I bet he's the guy who wanted to see my package and asked Deb to move so he could check it out.
Yeah,
Jamie,
he's seen that package. He didn't need me to
and,
move.
I've known Adam for a long time. Jamie, we're going to do a lot of pre-recorded segments from famous people on the digital hash bash. Can you talk about that?
I can. Most of the speakers are going to have 2 to 3 minutes. Some are going to have a little bit more. Michael Thompson agreed to on this very show to do a few minutes. The governor, the attorney general, couple of lawmakers, a senator, Senator Irwin, Representative Robbie, I think Congresswoman Debbie Dingell,
Ellie Savitt.
Washtenaw Prosecutor Ellie Savitt, my very favorite out of this entire list that we just went through. The guy should be an example for all others, our AG and other prosecutors around the state. But it's going to be a good, Darren's going to be there live, I believe. That was last said. So I'd like to believe that's going to be the case. It usually is. And so it's just going to be a fun day, and it's going to be kind of a polished production because there's going to be an opportunity to take a lot of those pre-recorded segments and have them lined up properly and orderly. And we're looking at last estimate about 3 hours or so with the music. And Tom Wall also will be there playing music, and he's done a lot of the that interfacing with the vibrations of the plants while playing music and getting the tones coming from the plants and the plants playing music along with them. And it's just really cool. And I believe some of that's going to be going on again too.
And it'll be at least, we're figuring 3 hours. 2+, but 3, maybe a little bit more. So you're more than welcome to stop by at any time during the broadcast and check out what we've got going on. I guarantee you'll have a good time then. And if you'd like to watch the entire thing, you can certainly sit down and podcast it, binge yourself on our broadcast if you wish. And
proceeds, because there are some sponsors, they're going to get like a mention, a little bit about them and their logo thrown out there. It's mainly for contributing, and the vehicles getting the donations this year is the newly formed coalition, the Michigan Cannabis Freedom Coalition, with national organizations and local organizations, the Michigan Cannabis Caucus, Last Prisoner Project, many others, Redemption, of course, and instrumental in getting Michael Thompson out and sticking together and working with additional organizations, National Cannabis Defense Lawyers Association, to get more people out. And so money is needed. One of the things when a parole board is deciding whether or not to let somebody go, they typically have a concern of whether or not that person is going to be able to sustain themselves and have shelter and food and things necessary to get along. And some of these funds go for that. Some of these funds give people money who are incarcerated, who need it for various things. And very good organization, and we'll continue to work on getting more people out. And then the John Sinclair Foundation to preserve his legacy and to bring some funding into those various things, and to create a trust and all that type of stuff. And he obviously is the reason that Hash Bash is there, and to be able to contribute to that and help in that way is honorable, and looking forward to that. And then the Hash Bash itself, we'll take some of the funds and use that as the basis for going into next year for when we can gather live again and have a really nice, huge production on the diet. So there you go.
I like that.
And also, since you're talking about the Michigan Freedom Coalition, there is a call to action out there to get Governor Whitmer to grant clemency to Michigan cannabis prisoners.
One of those pre-generated email things. Right?
Yeah, right. And also, similarly, Decriminalized Nature Michigan has something on our page. If people could go out there and share it to their lawmakers to decriminalize entheogenic plants and fungi in the state of Michigan. So we're having meetings every couple weeks, and it's
Adam's asking if there's going to be a live feed from the DIAG, and we have people who are willing to do that. The issue is with the studio, whether or not they can take it in under the circumstances and how we're setting this up and stuff like that. So
plus our time period is already allocated. We really don't have time to add anything else into the broadcast program at this point, because we have so many speakers and transitions. That's when we originally shot for a 2-hour program. It's going to be 3 because human situations. Just we've already said no to several other potential additions to the program. I'm not sure there's time.
So there you go. Yeah, it's not been set up. So if it were possible, if we do decide we're going to go longer or whatever, then there are people willing to do it.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
So there we
yeah.
go.
Something kind of cool I'd like to announce is the Ann Arbor, the 59th annual Ann Arbor Film Festival is coming up.
Mhm.
Yep, it's going to be March 23rd through the 28th. You can go to their website, just search obviously Ann Arbor Film Festival, and you'll find them. For the community, because we're actually a community partner as a Hash Bash organizers, and we're going to have a little showcase of one of their movies. They're offering our community 10% off their tickets. You can use the code 59AAFF community. And that's again 59AAFF community for 10% off the 59th annual Ann Arbor Film Festival.
Jamie, you're on mute.
AA meaning Ann Arbor.
Ann Arbor meaning yes.
F
Film Festival.
meaning film, and F meaning festival.
MOUSC.
Yes. Capital C in community.
White the Detective, Jamie Lowell.
Right.
59 AAFF.
That's a great show. They've got great animation shorts.
Man, the
Really good time.
old days to go to the Michigan Theater, the Beach Ball, and watch the animation festival, sneaking various substances that helped elevate moods. Have a great
Sometimes you
time.
don't need it with some of that animation. It does it for you.
What? No.
No,
Animation
you must
that
have
elevates
both. You must have both.
That's some good stuff.
Man, there used to be the Monty Python Festival there every year. That went down a long time ago. Well, that was a blast.
That should still go on because I love Monty. Whatever.
Paul Young's is leaving us, but glad that he comes on a regular basis and checks it out, which is cool.
Fantastic.
Lawyer
Well, I
from
hope
downriver.
Hope everybody had a good time with us
Yeah.
tonight's broadcast. We had some great guests.
Hey, Berg, as we're winding down, you've been observing, you've been soaking a lot of stuff in. You got a lot of stuff going on. What do you want to lay on people before we totally close up shop for the day?
Well, next week we're going to have our friend and awesome musical guest on, Mike Fate, and we're going to be talking about some white label brands that he's been dealing with. And, often we talk about, the bad side on Medical Mondays. We just want to bring some good side to, there are some positive, big industry cannabis companies out there, and we just want to showcase them too. So
Cool.
Monday's podcast on YouTube, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
And then the Michigan Bros Grow Show immediately after.
Yep, the late session. They also go live. I want to say they're going live tonight at 9 p.m. So on Mondays, it's just a late session. So
11 p.m.
Yep.
Yeah. YouTube is a great place to hang out. Tomorrow on 420 Post, we'll be having Anqunette Jameson. She'll be at Sarfoh. She'll come back on to talk about social equity and racial equity a little bit more. And we're also going to talk about the digital hash bash production as well, too. Jamie Cooper joins Mike Brennan and myself for that broadcast. And Jamie is also on the Hash Bash Planning Commission.
He's helping to get the word out.
Yep.
Yep.
Jamie, what's going on with your Thursday gig, man?
Well, Planet Green Trees, host Michael Comorn, Thursday night at 8, as usual. I haven't seen the itinerary yet to know what's going on, but Always a good conversation, no matter what. But I do know that Deb has been somewhat freed a little bit. Has been through the
Yeah,
vaccine
I
process
can
and
go
has
and
done some shit.
represent the show on the diag because I'm totally vaccinated and I'm a month past my second dose. I can slap
Nice.
on a mask and feel confident.
We might be moving closer to
Do that.
checking out the studio stuff with Derek, maybe. See how
Yeah, there's
people feel
one
about
other
that.
person on my block besides me and my husband who had both doses. And yesterday the CDC said we can meet indoors without a mask. So me and David Kendra, man, the three of us, in the whole neighborhood, we can meet indoors.
Do a little square dancing.
Yeah, what the hell?
Very cool. But you took it seriously and made sure that you were bundled up in there. So
Yeah. So I'm still alive, but then so are people who didn't take it seriously. So I don't know,
Hey, Drew Hall just chimed in just to say that thanks for having him on and stuff like that. That was cool. Apothecare.
Yeah, that was real cool. Yeah.
That was fun. But Deb, for the peace of mind that you have, I know it was something that brought you a lot of anxiety, and you really did change your lifestyle from COVID, and to have
Dude.
some sense of return, that's got to be.
Yeah.
It's weird, and really, we haven't gone anywhere. We haven't gone in a restaurant or anything. I still don't feel like I can do that. So we'll see. Baby steps.
Yeah.
I mean, we did nothing else. I mean, I'm trying to think, where did we even go? We've got some carry out. We weren't even getting carry out through this thing. So we decided it's okay, we get carry out and blah, blah, blah.
Got some pizza.
Yeah, we did. We got some real pizza. It was very exciting, I must say.
Well, but by the same token, you also learned a bunch of new things, including having grocery delivery services and being able to rely on some services that maybe you never would have taken advantage of before.
Never. And I'm still using the grocery. And then also an inner peace. I was able to find like an inner quiet, and something that hasn't been there for a while, and some kind of a calmness. I don't know. I think that life has changed. I don't know if it's ever going to be the same. I don't know if it will be for me, because I'm kind of looking around real weird. Maybe just being a little weirdly paranoid, and maybe it'll go away, but I don't know. We'll see.
I think the consuming public learned that we can live without a lot of things that maybe we thought we
Yes.
could never live without, right? And perhaps
Definitely.
maybe there's a little bit more of a sense of independent spirit amongst American citizens now. Those that haven't died.
Yeah, I did a ton of reading. I mean, books and books and books. And I'm a big reader to begin with. I was reading like a book a week, but I'm reading like 2, 3, 4 books a week. It's just really, like I said, very calming. You can just kind of put yourself away. And it sounds like antisocial, but I kind of enjoyed the solitude, kind of.
But by the same token, staying indoors means a lot more television, and that means people who would normally not consume as much TV have been subjected to the brainwashing, mind-numbing techniques that they saw in last year's presidential campaign. Just a constant barrage of hate and negativity from all sides and all perspectives and points of view. That can't be good. That can't make me.
I don't. Yeah, I wouldn't. Myself, I limited myself to news coverage about like 15 minutes in the morning. Then I'd watch like a half hour, late at night or something, because you can't. You get yourself all tied up in that.
But the learning that you can live independent of some of the luxuries that we took advantage of in the past.
Yeah, eating
It's
out.
a good lesson. Even though you regretted it, now you can if you don't have to. And for some people, maybe that's a lesson they should have learned a long time ago. But I see that some states have completely limited or removed all restrictions on all businesses and all commerce, and I'm just not sure that that's the right move.
Yeah, I think Florida has been just
Texas.
wide open the whole time.
Yeah.
I've seen people on vacation in Florida, and it's just like, hey, it looks like spring break every day, So.
Tejas.
Oh.
And then like Ohio is like allows for more than us right now.
Yeah.
I just hope it doesn't backfire. And I mean, last
Yeah,
time it kind of did, but now there's vaccines. There's more people who actually do use protocol. We're not going that fast. So hopefully it does.
Yeah,
work out.
I think they've only vaccinated just under 10% of the people in the U.S. though, and that's pretty low still.
Yeah.
I ran across an old episode of the Cannabis News that I recorded, and we talked about EVALI, which was, of course, the vapor, the vitamin E acetate problem with vapor that killed people across the United States, and the statistics showed that states that had legalized cannabis programs had significantly fewer deaths from EVALI because I don't know why, just they weren't getting their stuff from black market sources or whatever. I wonder if there's a correlation between cannabis use states and resistance to COVID-19. I just wonder.
There might be. That data is probably going to come out. So but as we got kind of out of time, we'll go over a minute or two, though. You got to hear about the Entheo show and what's going on with decriminalized nature and that kind of stuff here before we wrap it up, though. Jim and or Colin?
Theo, Jim, you want to take over the Entheo show?
Well, you know, last week we had this wonderful person on, Melissa Lavansani, that helped start this group in Washington, D.C. And this happened during the pandemic last year. And they ended up sending ballots to households so that then they could be distributed throughout the neighborhood that way or within the household. And they had this real grassroots from the bottom up way of getting decriminalized entheogens in the district of DC there. So really great show last week with some news there. Stay tuned for what we have a week from Friday, because even we don't know. So we'll, unless you know something I don't, Colin.
I thought we had somebody picked. I'm not sure.
I don't think we've booked them. I don't think they've signed our paperwork yet.
Okay.
We have a very extensive contract. We have everybody signed before they come on the show.
Your people are
There's a
still
lot
talking
of
to their
people that are wanting to get on the show.
Make them give us
So,
more prints and
I
everything.
just been kicking them along to oh yeah, you can come on 3 episodes from now, I guess.
They start booking those shows in.
Yeah.
Yeah, find out what they're doing next week.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see.
In a very rare scenario, we actually have a couple of shows booked out for here next week. Richard DeLisi with Stacy and I believe Ashley DeLisi as well. Richard's daughter going to join us. That's another tragic, unnecessary long-term stay in prison over some minor cannabis activity. 32 years of a 90-year sentence.
That's insane.
Yeah. The following week, we're going to discuss the Leonard Peltier story. Free Leonard. I don't know the in-depth story. I know the headlines of it. I know basically what's going on. I've had a couple discussions with Malcolm, who visited him. But we're going to get into that one a little bit with, I think the guy's name is Tim. I don't want to mess it up. I don't have it in front of me. But Malcolm, and I got another guy, last name I believe is Clark, might be Tim Clark, does a lot of work, still does a lot of work on this issue, on this case. And we're going to learn all about it. I'm really interested in that. Free Leonard.
So Jazz Cabbage Cafe, of course, keep an eye out for all of our streaming episodes on all your major podcast centers. Also, watch for these videos posted on YouTube, including sometimes segments taken out. One of them you'll really want to check out is the Michael Thompson segment that's on YouTube, or the Jerry Millen segment that's on YouTube. Jerry's funny. Michael Thompson will make you cry. Jerry Millen will make you laugh. We have a little bit of everything here on Jazz Cabbage, no doubt.
And well, with that, we're way past by 2 minutes. Normal ending time.
Horrors.
But hey, appreciate it again, everybody. Jazz Cabbage Cafe,
Y'all
another
take
good
care.
show. And March 30th actually be kind of our pre-hash bash show, so we'll have a nice round of people on there to help promote that. So see you guys next week, Jazz Cabbage Cafe.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks a lot.